Alright, how's it going, guys? Today we're going to be going over building a deck. Some of you guys wanted to see the deck that I use and sort of the concepts that I use for making a deck. So this deck is mainly just going to be a balanced deck, because that's the kind of deck that I really am more geared towards. So I'm just going to go ahead and explain the concepts around it and how I go about building a deck. And this is going to apply for any side, for the US or Russians, these concepts that I use. But I'm going to just use the US since that's the faction that I mainly play as and have most experience with. So actually just go ahead and build a whole new deck. So if you're doing any deck, usually the way that I like to go about it, at least for a balanced approach, is being able to cover all my bases. So what does that look like? I mean, that looks like not putting yourself in any situation that you can't handle. So you want to be able to know that you're in whatever situation that you're put in or you put yourself into, you're able to handle that situation with your units. So if you have a situation where there's too many jets, you got to make sure you have enough anti-air, or there's too many helicopters, you have the anti-air to deal with that. Or there's too much infantry, you have enough armor or anti-infantry to be able to handle those units. So that's what probably the main concept that I use for developing any deck that I use. And so for this one, let's go ahead and use special forces and airborne, or not airborne, armor. So just leave this as a new battle group, or actually we'll just change it to a balanced. So this is the way that I like to think about when I'm building a deck, at least for a balanced approach, because it's not like specialized in any one area. It's more of just, I'm putting myself out there in any situation and I'm able to handle all the situations, right? I'm not more towards air specific or infantry specific or armor specific. It's sort of an all-around type of approach, which I prefer. I think it's more fun that way for me, at least. And maybe in the future I'll get into more specialized decks, going heavy armor or maybe heavy infantry or heavy air and whatnot. So let's go ahead and get started with our reconnaissance. So we're going to come back to a lot of these different sections. So we're going to just do a basic sort of setup, and then we'll come back and sort of fine tune it. So this one, what I like to do is I like to immediately get all 4 cavalry scouts, right? I like having these guys. They're not the strongest. Cavalry scouts are pretty good just to have them there for sort of a front line, especially in buildings or in the forest. They have a pretty good, they're right over here, you can see 2.5, so it's pretty good stealth that they have. And I like using those guys for, like I said, usually in buildings or in forests, somewhere where they have it in a pretty good visual, just to be able to counter any infantry or vehicles that are coming in, and they have a pretty good line of sight, 1750. So these guys are great for even if you want to sneak behind enemy lines, but I usually put them in buildings, especially high rises, or in forest, just so that if there's a push coming in, I have these guys for extra support, especially if I have any friendly vehicles there. They're going to make them use the enemy use the active protection, or make them use their smokes, waste of smokes. So these guys are good to just keep applying pressure. Green berets are pretty okay, but let's just go into the deck that I use, the main deck that I use for my balance and how I approach it. So first, you want to have your basic anti-tank scouts for recon, and then for obviously get some snipers. These guys are pretty good for either reconnaissance in the back or in the middle. You can kind of sneak around with these guys, but I like to mainly just keep them in either high rises or in the forest around the map, and at least the side that I'm attacking. And I always put them on a no fire, or do not fire until fired upon. These guys are good, as well as just basic visual of the map, doing recon and whatnot. And then Rangers RC, for these guys, these reconnaissance rangers are really good. They have pretty good anti-infantry capabilities, and also they have, as you can see, anti-tank capability as well. So these guys are pretty good for, just as a basic small infantry support group, right? You could put them in the Bradleys and move them up and have them be just a sort of support with more additional fire support, and as well as anti-tank capabilities, which to me is really important. So right now we mainly just have we have sort of anti-infantry, or just like really regular infantry with their reconnaissance, and then our anti-tank, and then some anti-tank capabilities with reconnaissance. Now here's our main anti-infantry for recon. Like I said, you want to be able to cover all your bases, and here we don't really have anything that's able to handle any airplanes or any helicopters, so we're not going to focus mainly on just like getting what we can for what we have in this area. That's another thing too, like if there's nothing there that you can use to counter air, then don't worry about it. Just worry about whatever that deck can handle, and just try to focus on that. Right, so for pararescue, they're mainly anti-infantry, and I like to get just the regular pararescue team, not the special tags team. These guys are pretty good at handling other infantry. As you can see, they have flashbangs, they have M1 the 14s, shotguns. They got pretty good machine guns and regular rifles, so they're pretty decent at handling other infantry, just being a part of the front line, or putting them wherever you need them. Like if you just want to do a quick drop in at a zone, they're able to take that zone, and they could hold their own against other infantry if they're spawning other infantry, at least enough time for you to get some support to them, or even just like putting them there as a sort of secondary. Say if you take a Bradley out with some Rangers RSC and you need, just an extra infantry and you don't have that much money, these guys are pretty good for that too. So I get about 4 of these guys, and then I used to get some of these Bradleys, but I don't really get them anymore. So the other thing that you're going to want to get 2 Reapers, and I like to equip these with both anti-tank and anti-sort of air capabilities. So we're going to get the Stingers, and then we're also going to get the anti-tank missiles. So now we have both anti-air and anti-armor capabilities. It's really good for handling, especially tanks, if they're pushing into you and they don't have any air or any anti-air to counter your drone. This is really useful for that. You can just take out some tanks while they're pushing up, and just reduce their forces in a pretty significant amount, because even 1-2 tanks can make a huge difference. So get 2 of these guys, and then for our main reconnaissance, this thing is really, really good. You're going to get one of these. You could get 2 of those, but this one is just perfect for being really stealthy, and just like, it's really hard for them to catch this one and identify it, and it's just really good, especially if you just have them close to the middle of the zone, or the map, but you want to keep them a little back, but you can move them around, wherever you see fit. Just learn the radius of, where, if they could get hit. You want to make sure you have this just in a safe distance from any anti-air. But this Sentinel is really, really good. The Reapers are pretty good too, but the Sentinel is going to be your main one for being able to spot enemies and seeing where they're at. So let's read our basic lineup. We'll come back and adjust this if we need to. Let's go ahead and save that. So remember, keep in mind, the way that we conceptualize this, like try to think about this really analytically, is that you want to think about covering all your bases, not putting yourself in any situation that you can't handle. So do you have enough anti-air, especially if you're going towards a balanced group, which this was a balanced deck, which this deck is mainly geared towards. Like I said, it's not going towards any specific, like huge on armor, huge on air. Like you're not going towards just a more of all around deck. So infantry, immediately going to our Rangers, getting max on that, right? Always, for me at least, when it comes to balance deck, I'm always maxing out the Rangers. Now, I don't really use the AGLs. I think they're good, but to be honest, I prefer to have my infantry with either anti-tank capabilities or just more numbers. Like these guys only have 6 numbers. They don't really have any anti-tank capabilities. I mean, the AGL can do some damage to some vehicles, some light vehicles, but to be honest, and they're really good against infantry as well. But you're gonna be more than not using infantry as like sort of support, or even pushing into other infantry, and these guys just get annihilated if they don't have any support. And so at least with the Rangers, they have anti-tank capabilities, which forfeit the raws. Actually, you're gonna want to, we'll go back to this later, but the Rangers have really good anti-tank capability. And so remember, you want to be thinking about that too when you're creating a balance deck, is what can my units do and what situations are they going to be put in. And so with the infantry, they're going to be probably going up against at least your regular infantry, like the Rangers. They're going to be going against probably other infantry and tanks, or any vehicles. So you want to make sure they have a pretty good anti-tank and just anti-infantry capabilities. And so for this one, you want to go to the customization options, and you're going to upgrade it to, I think, yeah, it's already at standoff. Yes, the standoff one. If you have them at close quarters, you're going to change that to standoff. That way they can handle other vehicles and be able to at least take a couple out before they're killed. So AGLs are really good, but in this deck, I don't want to use them. Just there's other options that are available to you that are just better in certain situations that you're going to be presented with, and for those situations you're going to use the Ranger RAWS. These guys are super good. You want to upgrade them to the M4 Carl Gustav, because it just the damage is from 450 all the way to 600. These guys have an insane amount of anti-tank capabilities. Like just look how much ammo they have. They have 18 ammunitions for their big ol' moss there. These guys are really good, especially if you get them behind lines, like if you get them at the spawn, and if you guys hold them there, like 18 rounds for this thing, dude, it's insane. Like these things can blow up so many vehicles. Like we've seen it in my other videos. I was able to get these guys, a couple of these guys, and some more units in the back behind enemy lines near their spawn, for at least for the vehicles, and they were just blowing up vehicle after vehicle after vehicle. So these guys are really good. So we have both units so far are able to handle anti-tank. The Rangers have pretty good anti-tank capability. The Moss have the best anti-tank capability with the damage of about 600. Especially the ammunition, that's a real key here. Just being able to have 18 rounds for that is amazing. That's going to help you out a lot. You just got to be really careful with these guys because they could die somewhat quickly. They're not going to be getting killed that fast, but they can. You got to make sure you have other units with them so they don't get killed by any infantry or any other, especially spam vehicles, because they can handle most vehicles, especially maybe probably around 2 vehicles, but if they have any more than 2, it's real difficult for them to reload enough to take them out. So the next one, for now moving on to our anti-air, you want to get 4 Stingers, 4 Ranger Stingers. And you're going to want to get, because you either have Stinger or Javelin. And for me, I prefer having the Stingers. And I really think that you can never have enough anti-air when it comes to your infantry. So get your regular Stingers. Now you have anti-armor, you have your anti-infantry, or just regular infantry, and you have your anti-air. And what I like to do as well, getting more into the nitty-gritty of it, is getting mechanized riflemen, getting at least 3 of these. And what you're going to want to do as well is get the Bradleys. You're going to want to get, you want to get 3 of these. You're going to max them, upgrade them all. Perfect. Now they're the M2A4 Bradleys. These guys are really strong. The Bradleys are really strong. Right? If you have them, they could handle most other, especially heavy tanks. They get the Javelin here. They have 7, or the TOW. They have 7 ammunitions for this thing. It's pretty good. I really like having Bradleys because they could at least stop other vehicles from coming in and do some pretty good damage. And they could take out light vehicles, especially deal some damage to any heavy tanks, especially if they don't have any armor, the APS, or if they don't have any smokes. It's going to really do some damage to other tanks, and they have a pretty good range, 1600 meters. So get those 3 Bradleys, then you're going to want to, so we'll come back to this. So let's go and save it. I'm going through this pretty quickly because I know a lot of you guys have jobs and families and whatnot, and I know a lot of these broken arrow videos, especially on decks, can take up a lot of time, which I'm really not trying to do. We're trying to give you concepts that you could use to put into your own decks, especially if you're a beginner, or even for advanced people, if you just want to have an all-around balanced deck, like the concepts that you can use. Remember, the main concept is just covering your bases. Do you have anti-tank capability? Do you have anti-air capability? Do you have counter-artillery or anti-artillery capability? You want to make sure you have those things in your arsenal, so that way, with whatever situation you're presented, you're able to handle. Even just also too with logistics, so you want to make sure you have enough units to be able to supply you with resources, because you need to be able to recover. You need to be able to supply ammunitions as well. So let's go ahead and go to the vehicles. Now for this one's pretty simple. I just get 7 Abrams. This is your anti-tank, and this is your main lineup for your vehicles. Upgrade them all the way to test to 2 package. These are pretty good. They can take around probably about 3 shots from other tanks, 2 to 3 shots from other heavy tanks, and they're your main beef of your armor. And they're gonna be the ones pushing up the front line, at least when it comes to armor, while the Bradleys are supporting them. So you have, these guys are mainly just get against other infantry and other heavy tanks vehicles. So this is pretty simple. That's all you're gonna want to get for these guys, and then you can't get another one, so just keep it at 7. So quick and easy for vehicles. I also try to approach this too with not trying to be super overwhelming, because the more things that you it in your deck, it could be a little overwhelming. And if you have if you limit the amount of things that you have, it's easier to not get overwhelmed and be able to be sort of quick and precise in your decision making when you're trying to get more units on the field. Now for support, immediately Patriot Pack, and you're gonna want to upgrade the package to 4 missiles. Now these guys are really important, especially for dealing with jets, mainly for jets and for artillery, or especially seed missiles, or just any of the guided missiles. They could handle those, and they could also handle the jets. And that this is really important for not getting carpet bombed, or for not getting even the reconnaissance drones. This is your main anti-air, especially for like I said, the jets, or if they're shooting any missiles at you, that these guys could take them down. These are super important to have this in your lineup. If you don't have these, this is going to be it's a huge gap in your game. All right, next, sort of this is going to be your anti-artillery and sort of anti-armor artillery. So you want to get cluster warheads. These are really good for dealing with vehicles. Right, it's going to do a lot of top damage to them, and it's going to be able to stop the line or take out any other artillery. It's super important. Right, and also I'll make another video on tips and tricks and strategies that I use to be able to protect my artillery, and the best ways to move around, and just how to do better in the game overall. So you have your anti-air and you have your anti-armor slash anti-artillery, or just counter-artillery. Super important to have. You don't want to be getting destroyed, and you don't want to be able to be, get shot at and not shoot back. So with the MLRS, these guys are really good at, anytime you see any artillery shooting at you and you identify them, these guys are pretty good at handling that. They shoot, I think within aim time about 20-24 seconds, where they're able to handle any of those artillery, especially with the cluster warheads. They'll destroy them in a few shots, and as long as your aim is correct and you know where they are and you identify them and you select fire mission on them, you're good to go. And make sure you're moving them too. You don't want to be staying in the same position, especially with artillery. Next up, you're going to want to see these linebackers. You're going to want to get 3 of these. You could get 4, but a lot of this too is, like I said, you're going to want to just mainly remember using the concepts I have. So covering your bases. Don't want to be putting yourself in situations that you can't handle. So I like having the linebackers here, especially for my sort of front line. So your MLRS and your pack are going to be more in the back line of your push, while the linebackers are being there to support your infantry and support your tanks, right, from getting taken out by either helis or even jets. And so with the linebacker, what you're going to want to do is you want to upgrade them to the SHORAD. So this way it gives them better chance, better success, and better actually the better weapons to deal with, helis and jets. Like the SHORAD, the main gun that it changes from, it's really good at taking out other helis. So you see here, look at this. This does a lot of damage. Effective range, damage 3. Compared to if you just had the linebacker, like it's not going to do much damage to 2.5 to the helis. But with this one, much better, and then it gives it the stingers as well. You get 12 of those. Really good. And I like to have these guys in about either 2s or at least super close to each other to support one another. But these guys are really good for taking out enemy helis, even sometimes jets, but mainly against other helis that are going to be pushing your tanks and your infantry and trying to dish out damage there. So you could get 3 of them. I think you can get 4. So you're going to get 3 of those guys, and you can go ahead and upgrade them to Bucks 3. And you could also upgrade the engine if you have enough for it. If not, go ahead and just leave it at regular, so that way these guys have some better protection. So go ahead and save that. So you have the SHORAD for your frontline anti-air, which is really good with supporting your other vehicles and your other infantry to make sure they're not getting shot at by any helicopters or any jets. You have your MLRS for your counter battery and your anti-armor. Really important having that. And then you also have your Patriot, probably the most essential anti-air in your lineup. Make sure you guys have these. Now moving on to heli. Remember, I try not to focus too much on getting, at least in a balanced deck. I'm not focusing having a lot of different variations of the helicopter. So I'm not going to have a Guardian. I'm not going to have a Sorar or any of these other. I'm trying to limit what I have so that way I know what I need to use these things for, and I'm not second guessing myself, right? So let's go ahead and start with just what's your logistics, what's going to be supplying your units on the battlefield. You're going to get 2 Soars and 2 Ospreys. And you could leave these guys at 150 each. You could also get some miniguns if you want to upgrade them with that. Honestly, I would just stick with the basic, because you're just really going to use these guys for supplying or even dropping off units. So Osprey and Soar. Now I like getting the Comanche. I'll get 2 of these. Excuse me. Also, guys, I'm not going to be editing this video that much because I really don't like editing, especially when it comes to this long form content. So I'm just going to put it out here raw. But so for the Comanches, I like having them mainly as a sort of anti-air unit, right, with some anti-infantry capability and even just a little bit anti-armor capability, right? So these guys are kind of all around good, but mainly focusing on giving these guys the equipment to handle other air. So for your inner pythons, you're gonna get 4 stingers. Now they should be able to handle about maybe 1 to 2 other helis. Pretty good at dealing with that. And these guys are also really good at stealth. As you can see, 2.5 stealth. So flying these guys low and just doing damage to other infantry or light vehicles is gonna be really good for you. So now that's the only customization change that you're gonna do with the Comanche. You could also go ahead and get it a radar. It's actually really good because it increases the range that it can see. So these are the only 2 changes that you're going to do: the Stingers and the radar. Leave the Hydro Rockets; those are good for dealing with some light vehicles and some infantry as well. And the main gun is really good against infantry and light vehicles as well. Let's go ahead and save that. So that's all we're going to do for the heli. For now, we'll come back. Now for air. So if you want to have for this one, you want to be able to, like I said, remember, covering your bases. We have anti-armor, we have anti-infantry, anti-armor, anti-air, anti-infantry. We also have our reconnaissance. We have our basic vehicle for pushing the front line, for anti-armor, anti-infantry. We have our support. We're able to deal with really high altitude jets with our Patriot pack and dealing with the seed missiles and whatnot, and other guided missiles. MLRS for counter battery, counter for anti-armor, but it's not much to do with anti-infantry, but we have this up here. Our SHORAD to deal with our front line. We'll be able to support our infantry and our vehicles to deal with any helicopters that are pushing us. We have for our heli, we have our logistics, our main support for logistics, dropping off supplies, dropping off units, and we have our Comanche to deal with also any anti-air unit or for any air units. And moving on to our regular air. So for this one, I'm not going to be focusing on getting any jets or any bombers really, B-2 Spirits. We'll get mainly for this one, we're just going to get some MC-130s, right? We get 2 of these, and you leave it at that. And for the next one, we're going to get 1 Nighthawk, so you have some bombing capabilities, right? I want to leave you guys completely without bombing capabilities. So this one, at least you have the ability to bomb if you wanted to. And I usually have them with the you can choose which one you want to have, but I just have the AGM 154. So this one just be able to do regular copper bombing and whatnot. So at least if I want to bomb, it's there. I don't really use this that much, but it's there if I need it. That's pretty much it for this one. You're only getting this much. I don't really get anything else. You could get an AC 130. I usually do, but to be honest, if you just want to save the points for other things, you can. But we'll put it here just for now because to just sort of balance it out overall. And you guys could adjust what you want for these, but I'll leave this here alone. You guys could choose what you want and experiment with it. Like I said, I usually just leave it with these 3. That's all I need. I'm good enough with for this. If in more mid to late game, if I want to drop off some Rangers or any other infantry units with some supplies to take a point, if I I need to get there quick and fast, or quick and precise. If I'm not trying to deal with this sort of route finding by the vehicles, because sometimes the route they take isn't the best. So with the 130, they're able to get there quick and get there with some precision, and they're taking the better route basically. For the Nighthawk, we have our bombing capability, so perfect there. So now let's go ahead and go back and sort of fine tune all this. So we have about a little over 1700 left to be able to use with. So we have everything that our main. We're done with the vehicles. Now let's go back to infantry. We want to get more Bradleys, so that's another thing. We have 7 Abrams, but to support them, we're going to really need to get some more Bradleys. So the way we do that, go to your infantry, and now you have, let's see, so you're considering, okay, what do I got to do to really support to back up my main vehicles, my Abrams? The way you do that is M2A4 Bradleys. So now you're going to go into your mechanized riflemen. You can either use riflemen or engineers. I prefer, to be honest, I don't really like using the mechanized riflemen, the MGs, or the engineers. Cause I think the SAW isn't really that good. I rather prefer to have better anti-armor capability, and that's what the AT4 is there for. And with the mechanized riflemen, they're all right, but to be honest, I just prefer having more anti-infantry capability. Right? I mean, these guys are pretty decent at supporting at least other infantry, with especially the machine guns, and providing some suppressive fire. But I much rather have just basic infantry, basic anti-infantry. You could choose and experiment with, but we're not here for the mechanized riflemen. They're more just like a additional infantry that we're gonna have. We're gonna get 2 of these, and you're gonna upgrade the Bradleys all the way. So these guys are pretty beefy. Now you got 5 Bradleys. You have with the APS, so they're gonna be pretty good at stopping any other missiles that are coming at them. And then the smoke, if you guys need to back out, pop the smoke, get out of situations pretty quickly, reversing and getting out of trouble. Now you could, I think, actually that's pretty much it for the infantry. So you have your 5 Bradleys, going to be supporting your infantry and other vehicles on the front line, and that will complete the infantry deck. So we've completed our support deck, our vehicle deck, and our infantry deck, right? And the heli deck is pretty much complete, and our air deck is complete. Now let's go back to reconnaissance. So now with reconnaissance, you're going to want to get, I like having, okay, so you got to be thinking about too, like, if you look at the deck, you don't really have any any vehicles are going to be able to transport your units to the field, right? So this is more of reliant upon air vehicles for transportation and for supply drops, right? So you want to be able to look at and say, okay, what are some gaps in my game? Right now we have pretty much everything covered, right? Conceptually, right? We have anti-infantry, we have anti-air, we have counter battery, we have our basic vehicles, we have pretty much all covered. Reconnaissance units, we have our air for using for anti-air, we have a bomb, we have all these other capabilities. But what about being able to get our units to the field pretty quickly, right? Do we have anything that's going to allow us to do that, right? So we're going against other people, and they may be able to get to the field quicker than us. We don't really have anything to get our units there quickly. We could use the Osprey and the SOAR, but these guys, there's only 4 of them, right? If they get shot down, that's it. It's going to take a while. We don't have anything to transport our units. So let's go back to the infantry. Now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get rangers, and you're going to be, okay, well, having some Silent Hawks is going to be pretty good. Having some, how do you know which one to choose? To be honest, it's mainly up to you, but I think that we have enough air support, air supply for air transportation. So let's go on and switch over to ground transportation. Let's get some light pigs. I'll give about 3 of those guys. And these are good for, you have about 12 units in them, so you could take, you can only take about 1 thing of rangers, but if you want, you could actually use the light pigs to transport other units, like your snipers, like your Maws or your Stingers, and that way you're able to take different variations of units to wherever you need them, instead of just having the rangers. And you also are able to use it to its max capacity as well, which just makes it more efficient, to be honest. But they're good for transporting any units. They don't have any supply capabilities, so you can't take any supply with these guys, but they're really good at dealing, especially if you see their guns there too. And then you could upgrade them to having tow or whatever you want, but honestly I just keep them with M240, especially since we're almost at a cap. We're actually above cap, so we're going to keep that like how it is, just no modifications there. So we have some ground transportation. Now we're going to go back to reconnaissance. Now we have, so how are we going to get these guys there quickly? So for the ranger snipers, I like going with little birds, right? Little birds are really good for getting in positions quick and getting out of positions quick. They don't really have any countermeasures, so if they get shot down, if they get shot at, that's pretty much it. Especially if they get locked on with Stingers or any other helicopters with their Stinger capabilities. If they get shot at, that's pretty much it. They're not going to be able to handle that, and they're one shot, one done. That's it. So go ahead and get 4 of these guys. Having little birds are pretty good. You can use them also to transport your other units, so your rangers, reconnaissance, or your pararescue, or even the cavalry scouts. Right, because I believe the little birds have about 6 capacity, yes, so you can take about 2 cavalry scouts and those guys. Now for pararescue, you want to have also, like, I like having different variations or different modes of transportation. So we have the pig, we have little bird, and for pararescue, I like to get some flyer GMVs. Now, these things are quick. They're super quick. You can get about 4 of them. I like having these, and then I like upgrading them with the auto cannon, so that way they're able to deal with any vehicles that are in their direction, and they could also handle infantry and air too. So it's not a pretty big jump, only 15, so it's a pretty significant improvement. So upgrade that with that, and these are just really fast. Look at that. They have a speed of about 120, so that's, to me, that's really good for, especially if I want to get behind the lines, if I want to sneak around and get my units to the back line where they could take out any of the spawns, dealing with that. So that's pretty good too. Or just getting to zones quickly and dropping off units and be able to take objectives quickly, just to get them there and kind of throw the enemy off on like where you're going to be presenting or where you're going to be mainly pushing to. So get our flyer GMVs, and then off the rangers reconnaissance. Usually I would put the Silent Hawks for my other units, but we're going to go ahead and get 2 Silent Hawks. You could get 3, but we'll just stick with 2 for now. And these guys are really good for sort of going undercover and dropping off your units without being seen. They're really good for that, especially dropping off rangers or any other your main infantry, because these guys are really good. These Silent Hawks are really good for that. They're really good at going undetected and just getting in quickly and getting out quickly. Right, these guys are going to be really useful if you just you need to get your units there without being seen, and you need to get them there quickly. That's really good, because you have other transport methods with the air, especially with the the SOAR and the Osprey, but those things are like they're they're big old targets in the sky that could be easily shot down. Now with the Silent Hawk, these things are really, really good at going in undetected. Really, really good. So these guys will get you in and out without a scratch. Really important. And make sure you're reducing the altitude too. So now our deck here is pretty much complete. We have our cavalry scouts, really good for mainly dealing with stopping vehicle pushes. We have our ranger snipers for reconnaissance on the back line and just seeing what's going on in the zones, or like I said, in the back line, dealing with what they're spawning. So you can see ranger reconnaissance, really good they got really good infantry capability and really good anti-armor capability. Pararescue, it's another support for our other infantry because they're an anti-infantry group. We have a Reaper, be able to deal with any vehicles and any airplanes, or even some or not airplanes, but dealing with probably mainly deal with helicopters. And we have our main scout. You could also get, I think you should have enough for two of those. I would take two of these because they're just, to be honest, are really, really good at just seeing a huge overlay of the land, of the map. Those sentinels are really, really good. So we have our main reconnaissance in the sky. We have reconnaissance with some anti-armor and anti-air capabilities, but it's more of like a just a secondary to our sentinel. We have our anti-infantry with anti-armor. We have our reconnaissance with some anti-infantry capability, and we have our cavalry scouts for anti-infantry. And then we have all different modes of transportation. So we have our quick and stealthy flyer GMV. We have our stealthy and quick Silent Hawk, and we have our quick and not stealthy and super easily taken out. These things, it's super annoying if you don't take these things out in the early game. They're gonna get shot out by jets and whatnot. So these guys are really good, especially in the middle game or after the beginning. The first 5 minutes are over the game, especially with everyone's that first minute of the game, to be honest, when people are just spamming jets. But yeah, so you have your fast little bird, stealthy, and then fast ground. So you have all the bases covered here. Now our infantry, we have our anti-infantry of the Rangers with some really good anti-armor capability. We have our Rangers Maws. These guys are really, really good against tanks. Stingers for air. AA, more Stingers for air. Riflemen with our Bradley, and then also the AA with the Bradley. So we have 5 Bradleys for infantry support and for tank support. We have our 7 tanks, 7 Abrams to deal with our other tanks and other armor, so we're making up our front line. We have the support. We have our 2 Patriots to deal with our main air for the missiles, and we have MRS for counter battery and counter infantry or counter vehicles. Our shore rats to push the front line with our tanks and our infantry to provide anti-air, and then we have our helis to provide supplies or logistics and to supply more units to the field, and our Comanches to deal with other air units as well. In our air, we have our basic supply or transportation for the higher, if you want to get them mid to late game or even early game, depending on what you want to use these guys for dropping off large amounts of units and supplies. And then our Nighthawk, just in case you want to have the ability to drop bombs, right? So now we're going to make one more change here because we have a pretty good amount of anti-air capability. We have our Comanches, we have our Shorads, we have our, well, at least dealing with helis. We have our packs are mainly for missiles getting shot at us, or for jets. The Shorad we have for helicopters, Comanche for helicopters, mechanized AA for helicopters, Stingers for AA, and then that's only 4, right? But these guys, to be honest, they're good, but you're gonna have them kind of spread out. So I like to take even more anti-air units. I like to make the killer eggs my anti-air, so we're gonna go ahead and switch it over to 4 Stingers, and that makes these guys sort of backing up the Comanches pretty good at taking out other air units as well. Right, and you could adjust this how you see fit if you don't think you need them, but that is our balance deck for airborne and armor, or for special forces and armor. So I hope you guys learned some things from here and you guys like this deck. Like I said, it's more of this deck, especially when you're creating a balance deck using whatever, if you're using whatever force you use, if you're using special forces or if you're using armor, you can take the concepts of here and you can apply them to the Russian side or whatever, any other side that you have. Sometimes it's going to be a little difficult because you might not get certain units depending on which one you choose, but this is the deck that I like to use in most games. It's an all-around deck, right? You're able to handle anything that's thrown at you. You're able to cover all your bases. You'll be able to push forward. You'll be able to back the line up. You're just able to do everything that you need to do in a game. And that's how I like to approach this, and it's really good for beginners too, because as you see, there's not really a large amount of units, right? You have a pretty decent amount for reconnaissance and infantry, but you don't have too many vehicles that are going to kind of throw it. It just balances out, right? If you have too much of variations of in different rows, it's just going to be a lot, and you're going to be stuck with dealing with which one you want to use. If you have them for their intended and specific purposes, it just makes it that much easier for you to make decisions that you really need to make quickly, right? You're not hesitating on, oh, should I get this unit, should I get this unit? You know that each of these units have their specific role and purpose in the field, and that's what this whole thing is about. Each unit is there for a specific purpose, and its intended use is so long as there's a sort of circle of everything supporting one another, right? You have your, when you're using these units, you have your Patriot packs in the back supporting, so that way your infantry and your vehicles aren't getting shot at by jets dropping, carpet bombing you, and just destroying your entire front line. So you have your Patriot packs to deal with that. You have your MLRS for dealing with any battery that's trying to wipe out selected areas of your units, so that and if they shoot at you, you're able to handle that by countering them and destroying them. You have your Shorads helping the front line. You just, everything that in this deck is just the concepts that we used, is that we're filling all our bases again, right? So we have everything that we need to handle any situation thrown at us, and that's pretty much it, guys. Well, I hope this video has helped you guys at least build. You guys go and use this deck. Tell me, how it is, if you guys like it. But make sure you guys are using those concepts, just covering your bases, building a deck, and especially if you're going towards balance and an all-around deck, you want to be able to know, like, okay, do I have the ability to handle this? Do I have the ability to handle any infantry that they're going to do mass infantry and they're going to rush me? Do I have any infantry that can counter that, or anti-infantry? What if they do a vehicle rush? Do I have anything to deal with that? We have, we have enough Abrams to deal with that. We have enough Moss to deal with that. We have our cavalry scouts. We have our MLRS to deal with that. We have our Bradleys. We have a lot of things that are able to deal with those things. We have a bunch of units to deal with if we have a bunch of jets, or if they have a bunch of helicopters. We have enough to be able to handle any situation thrown at us. We're not specializing in one area, right? We're not going, oh, I'm going to go a bunch of Bradleys with a bunch of tanks and just do a fast push on that, and just only going, vehicles, no really support for artillery or whatnot. I'm just going to rush them with all that and just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. We're having, 8, 10 different helicopters and just pushing with that. This is just an all-around balanced deck that is going to be used to be able to, get what you need done, and not have you worrying about focusing on just that or just this, or not having to rely on other teammates too as well. Like if you're in a situation where you need packs, or you need more infantry and you don't have it, you don't have to worry about it. You have everything that you need to be able to deal with the situation presented to you. So hope this has helped. Hope you guys like this deck. I'll definitely be making another video probably on strategies and tips and tricks that I use in the game to help me win most of my situations or the battles that I get into, and what I'm learning and how I go about using this deck, specifically the ones that I use all the time. I'm going to try to use some other decks too that I create, like I want to try to going mainly with armor, or like a mix of armor and infantry, or even armor and just armor, just rushing with armor, or just going all air, because I really kind of stay away from using jets, especially if you're a beginner. It could just be a little bit much having to deal with jets in the air and stuff on the ground. I like to limit the things that I have to do, so that way it's just less stressful on me when I'm in the game. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, I'll definitely see you guys in the next one. Just leave some comments on what you think and what could be improved and your guys' tips and tricks and whatnot, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.